This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast. Up and running, and we forgot to turn the lights on, and didn't shut off the air conditioners. so I'm going to run around here and get all that stuff taken care of. Episode number 79 here on deck. Excited to have all of you along for the ride this evening. Make sure you check in. Let us know that you're tuning in on Facebook Live. Excited to have you along for the ride. This is going to be a good one. We've got Keith and Wayne Cleveland joining us here in studio. Keith last year won the Summitt SuperSeries championship, so we're going to be letting him tell us a little bit about that in between Jason Oldfield's breaks from the microphone. Jason making the drive in. I see that you don't have a truck yet.
Oh, I have a truck.
It's not out there?
It's out there.
Is it?
It is, yeah. I got, funny story about the truck. So I picked it up, it'll be 2 weeks on Friday ago that I picked it up. And so with COVID, obviously I don't get to make a lot of customer visits. But just the last couple of days I was able to finally make some customer visits. And the first two customer visits that I made, the first one was this company that mines wollastonite or something like that. So the short story is that it is a fine white powder that they end up turning this stuff into, and of course my truck has a nice black interior. So customer visit number 2 was a dairy farm. So my brand new truck, and the first two things, I got white powder all over the inside, and now cow manure today. So
that's exciting.
It's broken in at this point.
Perfect.
I guess.
Perfect. Did you have a chance to look at that Flaviar link that I sent you?
I did not.
Oh, well.
This was.
We'll have to talk about all this stuff later, though.
I would say this is for our post-production meetings.
Well, I signed up for it.
Oh, okay.
I signed up for it, and part of the package came with a free bottle of whiskey. It was called Old Elk. Past tense.
Yeah.
Because it's gone.
So it was good then. We liked it.
I guess. Couldn't tell you.
You don't remember.
A lot of emptiness back there.
Right. Well, no, I'll have to take a look at that because I did not. I totally missed that. But yeah, we'll discuss that in the post-production meeting
for sure. So who's with us today?
The reigning. I've always wanted to do this actually. I don't know if there's any UFC fans out there. I'd probably overload the mic, but the reigning, defending world champion, IHRA SuperSeries world champion Keith Cleveland, and his dad Wayne, who, Wayne, I'll apologize in advance just because of the fact that I don't know all of your accolades that you've had over the years. All I know is that you've raced at Lancaster, in Western New York, really for a long, long time.
Yeah. He's got a lot more than I do.
Yeah, it's. I will say that one of the first questions that I had. So, was it I'm going to say it was an Oldsmobile, a 442?
Still going.
So you still have that car?
It's still racing, yep.
Oh, okay.
I race it now because he kicked me out of my car.
Right. Well, so that was the question that I had, is that, for the longest time, you raced that car,
right.
And then for me, I moved away from Buffalo, went out to Rochester, so I've been racing mostly at Empire or doing the dumb thing and traveling the Northeast. I come back and you're in the Roadster.
Right.
So how did that all come about?
Well, a friend of mine, Bill Oswalt, built the Roadster.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know Bill.
I know Bill, yep.
Yeah, he built the Roadster. And he drove it for maybe 2 years, and he wasn't really happy with it. It was too small for him or something.
Okay.
So he gave me the opportunity to drive it, so I drove it for him for like 2 years.
Oh, okay.
And we won a few races with it, and we split everything up, and it was fun. And then he told me that I got to sell the car. He goes, I'm going to give you a first shot at it. And I go, oh boy, I can't afford 2 cars.
Right.
I go, okay, well, hit me with a number. We'll see what we can do. And he hit me with a number that I couldn't refuse.
Yep.
So.
Now, did you take was that complete?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you bought it complete.
Yeah.
So did you, at that point in time, did you park the 442 and just race that exclusively?
No.
No. No, I couldn't do that because at that time Keith was just starting to drive it on maybe Tuesday nights or whatever. So I figured, well, we'll let him drive it. So, yeah, he drove it.
Now, Keith, or Wayne, it might have been you. Were you Lancaster? I'm trying to think. Was it Lancaster or Empire track champion?
I was actually. I have 4 championships.
Wow.
I have 2 in the Oldsmobile and 2 in the Roadster.
Oh, 2 in the Roadster. Okay.
Yeah.
And is that at Lancaster and Empire? Or?
No, just Lancaster.
Just Lancaster. Okay.
Yeah. We just occasionally go. I never raced the full season at Empire.
Yeah. Okay.
We just get there when we can because Saturday's a whole day.
Yeah.
And Friday night's just Friday night.
Right.
And it's always been a lot easier Fridays than Saturdays.
Right. So 4 championships total. Now the 442, I guess, I don't even know what they call it at Lancaster. So top is what I would know as Super Pro.
Right.
Is it mod or
mod is no box?
So okay, so it is mod.
Right.
And is that what the 442 is?
No, they're both in top.
You're running both of them in top.
Right.
Okay.
We started out running the Oldsmobile in mod. It was a no box car for years, and then a few years back we decided to put a box in it.
Okay.
Just because the money was better.
2014. I think 2014 we put the box in the car.
Okay. Yeah. Because the way I remember the car is as a foot brake car.
Yeah. That was, if they did away with boxes altogether right now, I would, I'd be all right with that.
So me being an electronics racer,
right,
I would be okay with that too.
Yeah.
I would take all the electronics off of my car in a heartbeat.
Right. Yeah, let's get back to normal racing then,
Yeah, I'd love to see. I mean, super gas. I mean, it would be, let's call it a bolt under the gas pedal, or adjusting timing, or adding weight, or doing whatever you would do. But yeah, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
And, probably wouldn't expect to hear that from a super gas class racer like myself. But I'd love to get rid of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, for the super class racers, I probably preached this 100 times on the show. We could all save ourselves a ton of money too, because now you could go back to basically building a stock 454, put it in a light car, and run 640 in the 8th mile.
Yeah.
Instead of doing this, okay, I'm going to put a 632 cubic inch, 1200 horsepower motor in the car so that I can put it on the throttle stop for 4 seconds and run 640.
170.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it was up to me, I would definitely do that. So after winning, I guess, 4 championships, is that when Keith finally said, "Hey, you know what? I'd like a chance here"?
Well, no, he's been nipping at the, for a few years here, and he's come a long way. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I would say that.
I had the opportunity to I never had the opportunity to race in that race, but I had the opportunity to qualify for that race 3 or 4 times and never made it. So, it was a very good, proud moment then.
I can only imagine. So, Keith, when did you start driving the Roadster full time?
Well,
or I guess, did you start
this year?
The Roadster?
This year. This is the first year that I've
really?
driven it full time. I drove it on and off quite a bit over the past 10 or 12 years, but nothing full time. And so I really enjoy that car. It's a lot of fun. It's something totally different than.
Now, did you start in the 442?
Yeah, I started in the 442.
Okay.
And I was foot braking it, and then I took a break for a little bit, bought a house, and I had a daughter.
Yep.
And life happened, and then it got time to go racing again because I couldn't stay out of it for too long. But those mod guys are killer, and I just couldn't hang with them anymore at Lancaster. So put a box in the car, and I just went racing.
Now the Roadster, was the Roadster always a box car?
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, that's what I would have expected.
Yeah.
That was always like that. So you started off in the 442 and foot braking it.
Yep.
And I guess it is very hard. If the cars, the problem with Well, I don't know. I don't know how Lancaster does it. Do they break it down still by ET, that if you
Yeah.
go fast enough, you have to then move
No.
into top?
No.
Okay. So if you have a box in the car, you run in top. If you don't have a box, then you can run mod.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
There is limits on the ET. You know.
On the slow
On the
end.
slow, yeah,
Yeah.
on the slow side. Right, yeah. I would say, because it was always hard from that perspective, that if you built a car that was fast enough, that it was like all of a sudden now you got, well, if you were a foot breaker, you got thrown into top, and that
Yeah.
was the only.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
used to do it like that. Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that there's obviously plenty of great foot brake racers out there.
Oh yeah, there's tons of them.
Yeah.
But I still think that in general, probably anybody out there, if you had the opportunity, you're going to go run a bracket race. You can do anything you want, or you're going to have a delay box in the car. My guess is that everybody pretty much would.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I could certainly see why you'd want to stop trying to, I guess, bring a knife to a gunfight, right?
Right. Right.
So I asked you yesterday, day before, and I was shocked to remember this, and I mentioned to you before we went on the air that this is the first time that we've had a reigning world champion on the show, and I guess it was really just COVID that kind of threw my whole time frame off. I mean, it just seems like it was, and I didn't think it was that long ago. I think I asked you if it was 2018.
Yeah.
But what was that season like? I mean, obviously you did very well throughout the season to be able to qualify to go to the finals to begin with. But then to go to this race and win, I mean, what the heck was that all like? It had to be incredible.
It was a once in a lifetime experience. Like it was words. I still can't. People ask and try to describe it in words. It was just I can't put it into words. It was an amazing experience. I wish that everybody in my family was able to be there
Right.
with me, but it was surreal. It was unreal. It was just amazing.
I would say it might have been the first time I saw the picture that Chris had used for the show poster for tonight of you with the trophy, right? And I don't know who took the picture. It didn't look staged to me. I mean, it really did look like you basically just, let's call it collapsing around the trophy. It's like, I just can't believe this, right?
Yeah.
It really an incredible picture overall.
Yeah.
Now, was that where do they go for the IHRA?
Memphis.
I was going to say I thought it was Tennessee, and I was going to say Bristol. I'm like, I know it's not Bristol. That's an NHRA
And
track.
Jason, let me clear one thing up too. He qualified to go there in the Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He raced the Oldsmobile all last year, and that's the car that he qualified to go in, but he wanted to take the Roadster and race that car for the final.
Now, what made you make that decision? That to me seems counterintuitive. That seems like, hey, I've done really well in the Oldsmobile all year. It seems like the last thing that you'd want to do at that point in time is hop into a different car and go try to win the world championship when in a different car.
Well, that car is just a little better.
Just a little. No, I'm extremely comfortable in that car. I tend to do, not all the time. Nobody does good all the time, but
Sure.
the few times that I would drive it,
Yep.
everything would just click, And
So
last year we had John's 75 Hundo race
Yep.
at Empire. I runnered up that.
Yep.
And I think that was the first time that year I drove the car. So it was just,
Oh.
it was just, as soon as I realized that I had it locked up, there was no question in my mind, number one, that we were going,
Yep.
and number two, that's the car we were taking.
Yeah. Now, it was an interesting story that you guys were telling before we went on the air, which I didn't realize this. So, even though you qualified, because of the way that Lancaster still does the qualification process, which is, I guess we'll call it the old school way compared to the way most people do it now, most tracks do it nowadays, which is a winning percentage of the number of rounds, essentially, that you have.
Right.
You qualified for the race, but weren't the top Were you not the top champion, or were you not the overall track champion, or both?
They only do classes.
At Lancaster.
Yeah,
okay.
so I wasn't the top champion.
And that's
Thanks for reminding me about that one.
Well, you know what? It gives you something to strive for,
yeah.
young man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, if you had already won the top championship and you were IHRA Summitt SuperSeries world champion, it's like, what else is there to do? It's like,
Yeah, you can't sit in that world championship forever.
right.
Yeah.
So who was it that won the top championship?
Jan Winkowski won it.
Yep.
And he's got a good string going this year too.
Oh, does
Yeah,
really?
he's got. Yeah.
I will say he was at. So I did know that because he was at the banquet. So I was at the banquet for the first time in a million years, and I have to say seems like a really, really great person.
Oh,
I don't know him at all.
He's one of a kind. He really is a good guy.
But yeah, to see him at the banquet, and it's like, man, I in a lot of cases you might be like, oh man, this guy's cocky or whatever else. It's like,
No,
Not
love
at
this
all.
guy. It's like couldn't have had a better champion.
Right, exactly.
But I have to say that I wasn't aware. I just assumed that when he was champion and collecting the award at Lancaster, I had just assumed that you were still, let's call it, overall track champion, and then he was, you know, class champion or whatever it was. I didn't realize that he had beaten you out by. It must have been the slimmest of margins that he beat you out by. I mean, I can't imagine that you guys won the chance to go to the bracket finals, and that you lost by a lot of points. I mean, it had to be pretty darn close.
Well, actually, I finished third.
You finished third, even.
Yeah, Paul Kochi.
How was that
Finished
possible?
second. Well, the Super Series cutoff was, I think, the first week of September,
yes,
last week of August,
okay.
first week of September, and
We still had 4 or 5 weeks
But they have
to
a
go.
few more points
Right.
races after that. Okay.
right, and we had we had our last points race at Lancaster, and then we went to the World.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I have, I guess I have your excuse already, right? I mean, I just won the world championship. I'm done. Handing in the keys, right? It's like, how much motivation to me? Obviously, it's like, you know, any racer that goes to the track generally wants to win, but at the same point in time, it's like, you've just won the world championship. I would have to assume that going back to Lancaster at this point, you're there to have some fun. I mean, you tell me you took the trophy to Lancaster for everybody to see.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, we had it at the banquet. Actually, I think we got that confused. The last week was before the World Finals. So the final week of points was the week before we left for the World Finals.
But they already had the Summitt Super Series cutoff was before that.
Right.
Even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say that I didn't expect that you would, but I was secretly hoping that you would bring the trophy here. I mean, isn't it?
Should have asked. We would have.
Yeah,
If
I don't
you're-
mind bringing that and showing it off.
I was gonna say, when you're the reigning champ, I mean, aren't you supposed to, you know, carry that around with you like a belt, you know, all times until someone
Yeah.
finally kicks you off the throne? So, where, I guess, are you right now in the points this year?
Second place.
Second in the points, and where are you with regards to the Summitt thing?
Third. He passed me last week.
Your dad did.
Yeah, and Jan Jan had a few really good weeks in there, and excuse me, and it's gonna be hard to catch him this year for that.
So Jan right now is first overall.
Right,
Yeah.
leading the points and the Super Series.
I would say it's crazy, honestly, that you and your dad are both second and third. I mean, that's pretty incredible overall. Obviously,
We're lucky.
I mean, really, I mean, to be honest, and they probably don't do this, but they should, I think. Reigning champion, in my mind, should get an automatic invite to go back.
I
It would be
like
nice.
that
Yeah,
idea.
it would
I
be
really
nice.
like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, give you the opportunity to go back.
Could be our
and
spokesman for that.
I'll call IHRA up. I don't know who runs the show there anymore. Is Scooter Pico? Is he?
Yeah, I do believe so.
Yeah.
I'll have to send Scooter an email and basically let him know that it only seems fair if that's the kind of race that they're going to have to determine world champion.
Right.
Where we're going to bring all the best of the best and run them off and see who wins, and that's going to be the world champ. Well, then the reigning, defending world champion should be there to try to defend his title, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. So, what I would say overall now this year, Keith. I mean, what do you have as far as total wins? I guess you won. Well, you made it to the finals. 2 weeks ago, was it?
2 weeks ago. Yeah, something like that, 2 or 3 weeks. And then we had a malfunction in the car, and I didn't even get to stage.
Oh.
I staged, and then the tranny brake didn't hold, and that was the end of that.
Well, I would say it could have been worse. So I didn't. I may have told this story a couple of weeks ago. I don't remember, but I had a rental car that I took out to Empire and decided to street race. And I thought it would be a good idea to block. So on the second time run, I got my visor down and I'm blocking the tree and I'm deep staged, trying to leave off the bottom bulb. And so you had a malfunction that caused you to go through the tree. Well, I deep staged, put my blocker down, and then creeped the car forward and didn't realize it. And I'm sitting there waiting for the tree to come on. I'm like, what the heck is this guy waiting for? And I put the blocker up, the visor up, just to see that I'm not staged anymore.
Yeah.
So the guy's standing there looking at me like, hey, dummy.
Yeah.
So, here's the veteran drag racer, if you will, racing in street ET and can't even stage properly. So don't feel bad. At least you can blame yours on mechanical failure and not being I guess inept like myself.
It happens. That's part of racing, though. Well, my mechanical failure.
Yes, I mean
it's part of racing.
I would say my
That
types.
Mustang came from the factory with a line lock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but this was just a 4-cylinder. I think it was a 2019. It was just a 4-cylinder turbo Mustang, basically a stock low-end Mustang. But it comes with a factory line lock program inside of it.
Really?
Yeah. You go through
Wow.
and you put it in drag mode, if you will, and then you go through a process, and you can feel it pump the brakes up with the anti-lock system, and you got 15 seconds to get on it and do whatever you want. It was fun as heck.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
He launched
cool.
in the parking lot here.
And I put that in a rental car.
They did. I was very surprised.
Wow.
You should have. If you thought what I did in the parking lot was cool, you should have seen what I did in front of my house before I took it back.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that was fun. If you keep in it, it comes out. I mean, just like letting off the line lock button, doing a burnout in a race car, and squirrely and fun. You would go through tires. I would go through tires.
Oh, yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
At least tires are cheaper for a Mustang, right?
Yeah, I'm sure those low profile. Yeah, I'm sure.
18-inch wheels,
That's where you'd have to hit Donnie Razor up at Tread City Tire
There
all
you
the
go.
time for used sets of tires at $200 a pop, so you could burn through them as quick as you want. Now, Wayne, one question that I wanted to ask you, I've been wondering this for a while because I'm not trying to make you feel old.
Yeah, I'm old.
Well, so am I, but. Going out of the track when I was a kid, you were out there racing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I remember you racing for a long, long time. How did you get into racing to begin with?
Oh, all my buddies did it. So, you got to follow suit. It was just one day, I think I told my wife, Elaine, I says, I'm just going to go out there and try it, Willie and Campbell and Mick, Mick Whitty, they're all out there racing every week. I want to get out there too. I'm just going to go try it. So that was one day in 1980. Well,
okay,
it was like the end of 1980.
Yep.
And so the spring of 1981, I was all ready. I'm going to go a full year here. And
did you start in the 442?
Oh yeah.
So how long have you had that car?
I've had that car since 1973.
And what year is it?
It's a 70.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so it was 3 years old. So.
And what motor was it? The original motor, I'm assuming, in it when you
No,
bought it?
when I bought it, it had a bad W30 motor in it.
Okay.
It was bad, and I pulled it out, and like a fool, I didn't fix it. You know, I put a 350 in there,
Okay.
a W31 motor. It was a good motor also, but you know, we put that in there, and I raced in. It was called Super at the time.
Okay.
And at Lancaster in 1981.
Yeah.
And actually, that year I won. That was my first points championship in 1981.
Oh, no kidding.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I was track champion. I had more points in every class at the track.
Wow.
So.
So
we did-
year 2.
We had a good year. And
It's
then there was no looking back. And Elaine, she wasn't too happy with me in the early years because we had kids, little kids.
Right.
and-
I was born in '81.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So, it wasn't going over too good with her, but
Sure.
she kind of got used to it because she spends more time at the racetrack now than I do. So.
Which I will say, it really does become part of your family life. I mean, so my dad was a Friday night warrior at
Oh, yeah.
Lancaster for many years too. And yeah, it just went without saying that, yeah, Friday night's going to come along and we're going racing. Of course we are.
Right.
That's what we do. Along the same lines, I will say that, my mom and my dad, they always, Friday night was racing, weather permitting. And Saturday, then my parents would go out, and it was date night Saturday night.
Yeah.
So that was how the two of them did it. I will say by little. You have to make choices. I mean, that's the hard thing about this for most people. Where generally most people are doing this for fun. It's a hobby.
For sure, yeah.
And it's tough just because of the fact that when you're married, you have kids and a mortgage and everything else going on. It's like, okay, times are a little tight.
Yeah.
I'd really like to go racing, but you know what? I can't do it. And I know in the early years for my dad, there were years where he parked the car because he just couldn't afford to go racing.
Yeah.
But that's part of, like I said, just obviously wives are very understanding to allow us to do this to begin with.
Yeah.
And I would say your new wife, hopefully, since we just married her and you were already drag racing, she completely understands.
She's into it more than he is.
She's great. She's absolutely wonderful when it comes to that. She does the 50-50 at Lancaster.
Okay.
And every race that I go to, she's there supporting me. I mean, she gets more angry when I lose sometimes than I do, depending on who it is.
Sure.
And no, you got to have that support to be able to do it, or it's just not going to work.
Now, have either of your wives ever got in the car or expressed an interest in getting in the car and doing
Oh yeah, mine did.
And?
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. She she goes, well, I guess I didn't explain things enough to her in the beginning, but she thought that, she got in there and got up in the starting line and took off and put the pedal to the metal and went going down the track, and I'm like, shift, shift, shift. And she goes, well, when she gets back, she goes, it didn't sound right, And when she gets back, I go, well, why didn't you shift it? She goes, well, you said it was an automatic. So that was the last time she got in there.
Yeah. So okay, I'm gonna blame that on you.
This is long before air shifters. So,
Right.
By the way.
Well, yeah. Nowadays,
So that didn't work out too good.
I will say. I mean, I hate to say this, but a monkey could drive most cars, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if you gave them a banana every time they saw a flash of yellow light, it's like, all right, at that point in time, all they got to do is let go of that button, and they're gonna think a banana's coming and hold the wheel straight, and they're good.
Yeah.
I would say it's.
That doesn't make me feel good after the struggles I had with the line lock.
You just didn't practice enough. Well, like I said, I just didn't give you enough bananas, I guess.
I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, really, cars. I don't know if I've told this story on the air before, but I went to Maple Grove a long time ago for a division event, and there was a super stock guy there whose air shifter broke after the second time run, and he packed the car up and went home.
Wow.
Oof.
And I'm like, really? I mean, it's
Yeah.
one click
can't do that.
forward. I mean, that just doesn't seem that hard to me. But yeah, he packed it up and went home. And I'm not going to say that you wouldn't be a little less consistent, but for the longest time, I mean, my dad was one of the last holdouts to go to an automatic at all. And even for a throttle stop, I was one of the last holdouts to go to a real throttle stop. I tried all sorts of things, and I shifted the car for the longest time. It just, to be able to watch the tach and when it hit 7,500, push it forward one click just didn't seem that difficult to me. But
well, we just put a air shifter in the Roadster 2 years ago. We've been shifting it ever since then.
So you guys win. I would say mine had to be at least 15 years ago that I put one in my car.
Just 2 years ago.
And we just put one in the Oldsmobile last year.
We always, so.
We've been shifting the whole time.
Well, good for you. I would say, so let that be a lesson to all you youngsters out there. You can go out
doable.
And win the IHRA World Championship with shifting the car on your own.
Still working,
Now, I guess, so both of you now are basically racing in the same class.
Right.
Yep.
Are you teammates in points, I would assume?
No.
No, we used to be we would when I wouldn't join the points.
Yep.
Or when I was in mod, we would join the points together.
Sure.
And if he wasn't there, I would take the car and race. But we both want it. So.
And have you raced each other yet this season?
No. I came close a couple weeks ago, but I lost. I got knocked out. He went to the finals. I got knocked out with like 6 cars left, and he went to the finals.
We'll get there one of these times. I want to run in the finals just once.
Well,
that's the dream. That's
right.
Everybody wants that, but it'll happen when it happens.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
When it happens, you might not be as happy.
Yeah, I will say that I think every father and son team, that really is the dream, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that I always wanted that to happen. My dad passed away too young for me to be able to get a chance to do that. But I always looked at that and said, the ultimate for me would be able to line up against the old man and kick his rear end, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure being the old man now, it's like if I was lining up against my kid, it's like I'd like nothing more than to, basically
put
show
him in his place.
the old guy still has it a little bit.
Yeah.
But never got a chance to do that either. But that'll be interesting to see when that happens. I have to say, I bet you're going to have a few people lined up at the fence.
Oh yeah.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Maybe this week.
Maybe.
I would say this week. I mean, we're making, we had one race at Lancaster, but I'm looking forward to going back. I haven't looked at the weather forecast. I don't know if I want to or not. I'm hopeful that it's supposed to be nice tomorrow.
Right.
I haven't looked. I don't look until Friday morning because
they're
you
not
never
right
know.
anyhow. It's the only profession you can be wrong at 90% of the time and still get a paycheck.
That's right. I know. It's incredible. So I'm hoping the weather holds out because, we went there a couple of weeks ago and rained out after one time run, but I have fun when I go there. It's really a different experience at Lancaster for sure.
Yeah, the new ownership, Vito, Mike, and Gary, they're doing a great job out there. Putting the place together, doing improvements all the time, and
it looks 100 times better than it ever has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when we were out there a few weeks ago, I was just amazed, honestly, at how good the track looked. And I realized that, we talked to Vito just very briefly. It's like, we got a lot more work to do yet. But just the little things that they had done so far made it so much nicer. And I know last week with Hot Rod, I had Kirk Perry text me afterwards, and he said the track was great. And that was one thing about Lancaster always. The track was always fantastic. No, maybe they made the 60-foot clocks. Gary made the 60-foot clocks a little shorter. I don't know. But I always had the best 60-footer at Lancaster.
You still do. You can't figure that out.
So I will say it's a little bit looser of a starting line that I found at Lancaster too. I had to take some time out of the delay box to get a halfway decent light at Lancaster.
Still that way.
Yeah. Now, do you guys, at this point, I mean, you race mostly at Lancaster. Are you guys doing more traveling now? I mean, are you starting to go to Empire more? And are you looking to, I guess, start hitting up some of the big dollar bracket races that are going on? Or are you just really staying local? And, you'd mentioned the Twin 7500s that John Cera does. Are you looking, basically, just that? Or are you going to start, now that you're IHRA world champion, saying, yeah, I'm going to go do the million race? Or
Oh, I don't know about the million, but no, we enjoy it. We travel. We went to the Ace race earlier this year at Dragway 42.
Okay. Another track that I like a lot.
Oh, that was my first time there. And then we did the IHRA Sportsman Spectacular at 42. There was a couple races that I want to go to that we just missed. That the one at Keystone that just passed. I'd love to go to the Fling and do one of them.
Yep.
That'd be awesome. This year it's not in the cards, but one of these years it would be amazing to go do that.
I would say the Fling races are on my short list of things that I really would like to do. I mean, it just Peter and Kyle put on a great program. I mean, all I've heard is great things about those races, and it's definitely something that I would like to do as well. It's not going to happen this year for me either. COVID is really, unfortunately, whether it's not being able to travel. I mean, now obviously we still have, I don't know how many states are on the restricted list, but we still have the states that are on the restricted list. Chris, you might know.
I know that the guys that are supposed to come in at the end of the month for the show down in Morris, New York, are not allowed in the state, so they're going to do the right thing and fly into Pennsylvania and drive up.
Yes, I will say that, they're not the only ones that I know that have done that. I will say there are some business people that I know that were not able to get into the state as well, and they've been doing things like, flying into Pennsylvania or Delaware. Delaware.
Yeah, they're still good up. All the eastern states up here are good yet. But
now
Ohio's on that list.
Is Ohio still on the list?
Ohio's having some trouble.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's for us. I mean,
they got a lot of racetracks in Ohio.
Right. Yeah, that makes it really tough for us.
They shut down grandstand activities for the year too.
What's that?
They shut down grandstand activities for the year too. So I don't know what that means for the privately owned racetracks.
In all of Ohio?
Uh-huh.
Oh, they did. I didn't hear that.
Yep. Butler County was probably the last event that they were going to have. So I don't know what that means for Atomic or what is it? Attica.
Yeah.
I mean, these are tracks where you have to turn left on purpose. But yeah, I mean, there's a number of tracks that we don't know what's going to happen, and some of them are high profile tracks like Eldora. Did they shut down for the year now or what? So there's a lot of questions about what could happen with the state of Ohio. The promoter that we do a lot of work with in Kansas and in Ohio, they've got 42 county fairs, and at this point, just about all of them have canceled. They've had maybe 8 or 10 of them up to this point, and they were shut down. Now Genesee Speedway locally, they're allowed to race again, but they can't have fans. And Land of Legends Raceway in Canandaigua last week was supposed to not welcome fans, but it sounded like it was a one race deal.
Yeah.
Because right now there's 2 executive orders that are happening concurrently in New York State.
Okay.
One of them has a generalization applying to racing, and one of them is specific to grandstand events and auto racing.
Oh, okay.
The one was extended until September 7th.
Yeah.
The other one expired August 2nd.
Okay.
So I haven't seen anything to say that August 2nd expiration was extended to September 7th as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here as some sort of authority, but I've heard from a secondary source who's in touch with the Department of Health that August 2nd expiration was extended, but they're still going to have their event because they're not going to have any fans. They've restricted the number of people allowed to attend with a car is reduced to 3. It's a driver and 2 crew.
Yep.
This is much further downstate.
Well, and I think those same restrictions are in place for us as well. At least I know at Empire. I'm pretty sure Empire, the rule at Empire is a driver and 2 crew people.
Right. Here's the problem. is that some of these other tracks are selling pit passes to crew people
Yeah.
who don't even know what an impact wrench is.
Right.
And they're just hanging out in the pit grandstands.
Right.
So your grandstands are empty, your pit grandstands are full, and you're in compliance.
Right.
And the fans, unfortunately, are going to undo it for themselves because they're saying, just go buy a pit pass, I'll let you in.
Right.
And it's
Yep.
all over Facebook. And you think that these places aren't being watched? Come
Right.
on.
Right. Well, I think, that's, Norwalk, obviously, it may not have made a difference anyways, but, Norwalk got themselves in trouble when Bill Bader Jr. basically, decreed back in, I think it was April.
Yeah, he was opening.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're opening. I don't care what the government says, but we got to make a living, and we're opening. And I'm like, oh my God, you don't post that on social media. And it was like 2 days later. Well, what I meant was we're going to open eventually, and it was like I know darn well it was like the governor probably saw that and dialed Bill Bader Jr.
Yep.
directly and said, "Oh, you want to bet you're opening?"
You
Yeah, that's too bad.
you heard about the track that opened for fine dining? Did I tell you that story?
No.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah.
So this track way east of us,
Uh huh.
the gentleman that's running it is leasing it from one of the fair boards.
Okay.
So I don't want to say he's got no skin in the game, but fine me all you want. Take away my liquor license. Whatever, they opened for outdoor dining.
Okay.
They just happened to have a race going on in the background. So the outdoor dining area was the grandstand, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And it didn't go long.
I would say it was brilliant for one event, right?
The issue that everybody's running into, especially out like Bash for Cash that we were talking about, is the Department of Health was the one that was the issue. Is if you go through and you do all this camping, there's no way to ensure any of the distancing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You've got community showers, you have people overlapped on top of each other, you've got the social congregations that are going to happen in the intermedium. So that's one of the issues that I run into in general. So that's why you're seeing people allowed to take their masks off when they're sitting in the stands, but if they're moving about the facilities, they got to have the masks up. And the less that's followed, the more attention the Department of Health is going to put on
Right.
you. And then when you're talking about race cars that are petroleum fueled and they're changing oil and breakdowns and stuff like that, you start messing around too much and the wrong people start coming to visit your facility, and then everything
Right.
really gets ugly. So
Right.
it's best to just play by the rules. Don't be selfish and arrogant. Just do what you got to do and get over this thing, and we'll be back to normal.
Yeah, and I will say that was part of the conversation that I had earlier today at my customer site, is that I just want everything to go back to the way it was, right?
Yeah.
Not to here we go.
What?
Not to overly politicize things. I'm not picking sides. I'm just saying use your freaking head
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
for the racing side of things.
Right.
Yeah. If you want to continue to race, do the right thing.
And,
Right.
And that's the end of my contribution for this episode.
I'm going to go back to lurking and
I'll see you guys later.
working the cameras. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the same as the restaurants. I mean, I hate the restrictions. I guess it was the bars, right? It was the you can't go to a bar and have a drink unless you order food. And it's like, all right, well, what constitutes food? It's like, all right, well, yeah, one potato chip for $1. There you go. And it's like, okay, well, you can't do that. And it's like, well, all right, well, what does constitute food? And Cuomo came out and said wings don't count.
Right.
And it's
In
like
Buffalo.
yeah, right. In Western New York, it's like that went over like a fart in church, obviously. So. And that whole thing, it's like, I don't know how, in a situation like this, I mean, if it were me, I would have basically made the restriction, look, if you have a kitchen and you have a license to serve food as a kitchen, then you can be open. And if you don't,
Right.
then you can't. And that's
Right.
all there is to it. And if you want to be a bar and you want to be open and serve people, well, you're just running the risk of having your liquor license taken away, and that's the way it goes.
And a lot of that comes back to where you live. In New York State, it's a little bit different than what it might be in Virginia or Colorado or
Right.
Tennessee. You have to serve food in order to hold a liquor license. And I can't remember where it was, but you don't need to serve food in order to serve beer. And it's two different qualifiers right there. So this one place put up a chip wall, and that's how they serve their food. And
Yeah.
they put this dopey pizza maker behind the counter.
Right.
It hasn't been turned on in 25 years, but it's there in case it, so they
Look, we
got
serve
their-
pizzas.
Yep, they got their workaround there, but so now depending on what their state's doing, they may be in trouble. Kansas City's supposed to be an issue. I'm supposed to be flying into Kansas City on my way to Topeka in 3 months.
3 months. So let's see, it's August, so September, October, November, beginning of November.
middle of November, Veterans Day, and we're going to have 5,000 fans in attendance at the Stormont Vale Event Center.
Boy, I don't know.
I don't
I'd love to say that that's going to happen, but
I don't know.
I
We're
mean,
supposed to have that event up at the Northeast Racing Products Trade Show at the fairgrounds in the end of November.
yeah. This is probably, I mean, it's probably a nice segue overall, really. I mean, again, we were
Back to
kind of
talking about racing.
yeah, yeah. So we were talking before we went on the air about the hot rod race that Lancaster had last week, and people wanting to race for more money. Now I don't know whose idea it was. I mean, I thought that I knew that you. I don't know if you run the Calcutta or
I do.
If it was your idea or whose idea it was, but
It was
I do
his.
at Lancaster. Almost every track does it.
yeah, I mean, so my first experience was years ago someplace, and it was like, this is a great idea, because if someone wants to race for more money, they can. And if
Right.
you don't want to, then great, don't get in the Calcutta.
Right.
It's totally optional. And that was why when I took over running Super Rod and did the Western Super Rod Association, that's why I decided to do the Calcutta, because I just loved that idea overall.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, to hear that you're doing that at Lancaster now, I think is really, really a great thing, and gives people the ability to again, race for more money when they want to. In the hot rod race, I know there were people that weren't thrilled with the payout. This is what we were talking about beforehand. Weren't thrilled with the payout beforehand, but Pete Maduri Jr. kind of stepped up and said, hey, you know what? Well, why don't we just do a Calcutta? And
Right.
I don't know what they ended up doing. I think maybe $50 for the Calcutta in that case.
I don't know what their bottom line was.
But now we can, race for better money. But at the same point in time, for God's sakes, we should just be thrilled that we're racing at all in 2020, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, yes, let's make it so that we're racing for free, or we're just, giving the track our money and, they give us a, cheap plastic trophy or something at the end of the day. I mean, it's always nice to get money in return, because it is expensive to run a race car. But yeah, I have to say, I mean, this whole conversation just makes me think that, maybe I should stop complaining and just be thankful that I can go out to the racetrack at all.
It'd be a lot
Well, top
quieter.
last week, Jim Millar won. First, he won the Quick 8.
Yep.
Then he won top, and he won the Calcutta. It was like a $1,500 payday for him.
That's a pretty nice night.
Sure is.
So Lancaster, the way Lancaster works, so Lancaster, if they have the Quick 8, which they only do that once a month.
No, they do it
They
every
do
week.
it every week.
Oh, they do it every week
Yeah.
now. Okay.
4 door cars and 4 center steer cars.
Okay. So if you win the Quick 8, then you get inserted into
Exactly.
top in third round or
Yeah.
something like that. Okay.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah, it's just a branch of top. It's just
okay.
like
It's a race and a race.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so with the Roadster, do you guys typically?
We'll get in. I'll get in it every week if we can, but we're only going 570. So
Yeah, a lot
or
of times that don't
560s.
cut it.
So we don't get in much, but when we do, when we can get in, we do get in. He
Yeah.
won it a couple weeks ago, the top 8.
And what does so if you win the top 8? I mean, obviously, not only do you go into top, but what do you win just for winning the top 8?
It's $400 to win. I think $200 to runner up, and then what is it? 100,
50
50,
if
50.
you win first round.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean for 3 rounds of racing,
Yeah, for 3 rounds of racing, and
Yeah.
you're not done for the night, so you still
No.
get the opportunity to go
you
into
get
top
a
as well. I
chance
mean,
to
yeah,
win
that's
and make more money.
that's.
I mean,
pretty
we
nice.
don't do this for the money,
Right,
But it's
right.
nice when you get that.
Oh,
extra.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it helps. Obviously, it helps pay the bills. Again, all of us are doing this as a hobby and fun, but we're taking money out of our pocket to go do this. So,
Yeah.
if you can go win a race and you win $1,000, almost everybody, usually, I won't say that you're putting it back into the car, but usually you're stealing from bills
Right.
to put into the race car. It's like, all right, now I just won $1,000. Now I'm going to go pay those bills that I took the money away from to begin with. But I mean, it's not like, okay, yeah, geez, $1,000, I'm going to, I don't know, go buy the wife a fur coat or something. I mean, usually you're just
No, it's going back into the race car.
Yeah.
Go buy a set of tires or
right, absolutely.
something.
Yeah, absolutely. So when, I guess, did you come up with the idea to do the Calcutta at Lancaster? Because that's a new concept for me at Lancaster.
We've probably been doing it for 3 or 4 years now.
Because I don't.
Every week, 3 or 4 years in top. And there was people doing it in mod too. I'm not sure if they do it every week in mod or not, but they were doing it down there too. But yeah, we do it every week, and it varies between. I'll say the lowest it's been is like $260, and we've had it up to $500 in the past, but I think $400 was our best week so far this year.
Yeah.
But
which is a nice little bonus. And
and a lot of times they end up splitting it, and a lot of times actually we've only had 2 winners actually win it. It's usually it's been given out when there's 6 cars left or so.
Right.
It's been given out because a lot of the guys who think they can't win end up winning, and
Sure.
they didn't want to get in it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and you look back and you say, "Oh, geez, I
Yeah,
really
but-
wish I would have spent that extra $20." Right?
Yeah.
I don't understand why someone wouldn't do it. I know for us. So tomorrow night, at Lancaster, it's obviously you got to get the race car out there to begin with. So you have to
Right.
have the investment of the whole rig and the race car and everything else.
Right.
But then you got to put gas in your rig to tow out to Lancaster. You get there, for us, it's going to be $25 a head just at the gate to get in.
Right.
Then it's $100 to run with us.
Right.
You have all that money invested. You haven't put a drop of race fuel in it. Why you wouldn't pay the extra $20 to get into Calcutta at a chance to win an extra $200-300? I don't know why you wouldn't do that at that point in time. And in your particular case with Top, I mean, what's a typical car count in Top?
We're usually
35
between 30 to 40.
Okay, I was going to say, in the
We're
35
right up
car
around
range.
40 cars just about every week.
I mean, if you had 30 guys get in at $20 a piece, I mean, that's $600.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a nice little bonus to get on top of the winner's purse. So I will say for us, we probably get 80 to 90% adoption rate for the Calcutta.
Right.
I have guys, Lance Pino's a perfect example, our most recent winner. If I went to Lance and told him it was $500 for the Calcutta, he'd be in because he's a gambler. he likes that.
Yeah.
We have others that never get in, but
Right.
overall, I would say probably 90% of our guys get in, which makes a nice, again, little bonus at the end. And if you could get that kind of adoption rate at Lancaster, again, I realize that we don't do it for the money, but geez, if you're going to win, why not?
Yeah. When you win, it's nice to win. To win big.
Right. I don't know, honestly, if they do a Calcutta out at Empire.
Yeah, they're starting.
John's
they
just
got
starting
one.
one.
Actually, there's a
John
race
Sears,
this
yeah.
Saturday there.
Yeah.
There's a race this Saturday there, and John Sears putting together a Calcutta, a real nice one.
Oh, yes,
$40
yes.
entry, and he's going to pay like 4 places, and he's almost talking about doubling the actual purse of the track.
Right.
So, we'll be there. We're interested in that.
Yep.
We'll be in.
support any of that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, it really is in my mind. Yeah, and that's right. I remember I should have known about this or mentioned it because that's right. I mean, he's doing the progressive payout, like you said, where
Right,
he's going to pay
right.
back multiple places, which is nice.
Right, yeah.
And I could see more tracks really doing something like that. Where look, we have, let's call it 3 different pay structures.
Right.
How much do you want to pay to race
exactly,
tonight? Right?
yeah, yeah.
We have the bronze, silver, or gold
Yeah.
plan. So,
Yep.
how would you like to get in tonight? But I mean, once you've sunk all the costs, now I have my limits too. I mean, I typically don't do. Well, I think it's different from the 7,500 races that John puts on. He has the high roller race.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, on Labor Day.
Yeah. And like I typically won't do the high roller race just because $500 to enter is just it's a lot
That's
of money.
a lot, yeah.
Yep.
And with my luck, I end up having a trans brake button or something not working and rolling through the lights first round and
Right.
bye $500.
Your shifter quits, you got to go home.
Or that.
Yeah.
I would say a few years ago it was the last race that Empire had where they had the IHRA division event there. It was just a nightmare weekend for me. My line lock
that.
button was getting squashed between the shifter handle and the park position of the shifter mount itself. So I didn't realize it. I didn't see it, the way it was all zip tied and everything else. And it had been like this for years. It just moved a little bit. And get to the staging lanes, and I start up in the pits, it'd run fine. I get to the staging lanes, I'd put it in park and shut it off, and then I go to start it for eliminations, and nothing. I'm like, what the heck? So I did that. I lost twice that weekend like that. The second time, it's like, all right, I figured out that it was a fuse that was blown, but it's like, just what a nightmare. And it's like, there I am, blowing fuses over and over again. And then, of course, you get it towed back to the pits, and then you see the little squashed wire there and the strands of the wire peeking out. And you're like, oh, my God, what a terrible way to lose multiple races. And it's an expensive way to lose, too, because, it wasn't a cheap weekend. But tons and tons of ways to lose, obviously, but along those lines, that's why I typically don't get into the really big dollar races, and why I like more like the fling races, like you had mentioned, where you're going to spend, well, I don't know if it was on the air or not, but for $350 you can go race multiple 10 grand races now these days, and that to me is a better way
for sure
to do it if you're going to do it. Unfortunately, Lancaster or Empire, I just don't know why, and maybe it's, I don't know if it's the area, but we can't seem to get the guys to really support the really high dollar bracket races. I mean, Sierra
does a great job with that, and he gets a good car count, but a lot of them, it seems to be out of towners. There was a lot of unfamiliar faces at the last one.
Right.
And
but isn't that one of the conversations that we had?
You need that to make it successful.
Right.
You need all them people.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the conversations we had about that was that the local guys don't feel like they can do it. They get chased off by that big payday, and all these studs are going to be coming into town, and it's not worth donating my X amount of money for an entry to know that I'm not going to get past round 3.
I just don't know why. And now, granted, I mean, there are good racers everywhere, but there are a lot of good racers in Western, really good racers in Western New York.
Yeah, we have an exceptional talent pool.
And I mean, certainly don't take this the wrong way, right? But I mean, here's your perfect example right here. I mean, you have the reigning, defending IHRA SuperSeries world champion sitting next to me. And that's right, him. That's awesome, by the way. I love that. He's just let's call it a regular bracket racer
guy
from Lancaster, right? So for guys to believe that they can't win, now, I mean, I guess maybe that's just part of the problem to begin with, is that maybe with the Calcutta, it's like, I don't know why you would go to the track if you didn't think you could win. I mean, don't go on a Friday.
Well, don't discourage them, because we don't need any less people at the track.
Well, anybody, I mean, I'm going to argue. I don't think I've raced, I'm going to call it in top or in Super Pro at Empire, raced somebody where afterwards that person should go back to their pits and think, hey, you know what, it's time for me to hang this up because I just can't win a round. I mean, I can't tell you the number of different people that I've lost to in good races. Ben Height last week, his first 2 weeks ago, his first super rod race ever. I will say that we were talking trash before the race, but second round he brought it and sent the old man packing. And was it his best race of the night? Yeah, it was. And you know what? It doesn't matter. You just never know when you're going to put that type of package together or string of runs together to be able to win a race like that. So, I mean, guys need to get into the Calcutta. If you're going to go out and race, man, you need to get into the Calcutta. You need to enter some of these higher dollar bracket races and support them. And I'm not saying that you need to spend $1,000 to enter, but I mean, for me, again, why not spend a little extra money and give yourself a chance at winning some good money as well? But I guess I'm preaching to the choir in this case, right? Now, one thing that you guys had mentioned, so I didn't touch on yet. So the Roadster runs 570.
Yeah,
that's super comp.
Yeah, we could do it if we are. There's no races like that around anymore, though.
Actually, that's the only class we could do because all these other ones don't allow center steer cars. I mean, we're not a dragster, but
I would love doing it because I'm only going I'm going 140 at 570 or
Yep.
at 890, and,
Right.
and those guys are going 190 or 180, you know. So,
Right.
And I might be crazy here, but I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Well-
I know my car's going to go,
890.
890 at 140.
Well, and I will say that you start doing, let's call it 890 at, you're running a car that's going 890 at 180. You're doing 890 at 140.
Yeah.
It's really hard to judge a car that you're
Both of
closing
us.
on. Yeah, at
Both
40
of us.
miles
So
an hour.
now we're, and I know a lot of those guys, they got to hold 2 or whatever, but, if it works, it works.
2.
2 or 4.
I was going to say I need to put a little press release out. I was hoping I was going to have a chance to do it before the show, but I was running late for my customer appointment. And I didn't. I saw a picture on Facebook today, which you may have seen from Lancaster last week, of a hot rod race. Somebody was holding more than 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I was going to, like I said, just write a nice little note to remind everybody that in Super Rod, for the Western Super Rod Association, I will say, there's no warning. That is written into our rules.
Right,
that's
right.
immediate disqualification.
Yeah.
It's just not safe.
no.
Yeah.
If you pop a tire down there and take out the car next to you, now you're...
Right. And this is, you can, I'm sure both of you actually can relate to this. This is my issue, is that I have a car that is, to me, it's irreplaceable.
Right.
And it
Sentimental.
means a lot to me. It
Yeah.
has a
Right,
lot
yeah,
of sentimental
exactly,
value because of the connection to my dad, who's no longer
Oh,
here.
yeah, for sure.
And you think about the 442 that you've
Yeah.
owned for going on 50 years.
Yeah. Well, that's just a piece of metal, okay? But the other car there, if that car there where outside is like right here and here.
Right.
And here, that's your life you're talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
They're only pieces of metal as far as I'm concerned, but that's your life you're talking about.
Right.
Something happens down there.
Yeah, and I will say that, I think all of us are along the same lines, that we all feel safe in the car. I mean, there's
Yeah.
never a time where I feel unsafe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that getting hurt, even comes secondary. I mean, I always think that if I was going to have an accident at one point in time, it's just going to be destruction of physical property and not myself. But yes, you're absolutely right. You are putting somebody's physical being at risk too. And again, when you're talking about racing racing anywhere, it doesn't really matter where. I mean,
Right.
is it really worth it?
No.
I love it when Jason gets talking about safety, and I'm reminded of the story that he told me about taking passes in the Corvette, sitting on the passenger floor, hanging on a
That was
roll.
against my will. Yeah, so when I was very young, I don't know if you heard this story, but when I was very young, my dad took me for a pass in the Corvette, and at the time, Mike Mercurio was the race director,
Yeah.
and I sat on the aluminum floor and hung onto the roll bars with a helmet on, and while my dad was strapped in with a 5-point seatbelt and all the rest of
And
it.
that's okay.
And that was okay.
Yeah, now you can't do anything.
Right.
I mean, I'd love to take, my wife or my kids just for a half pass, just so they
Right.
can experience it.
Right.
Because until you experience it, you don't.
I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified.
I remember my first pass down the racetrack as a passenger, and it had me right away. I was hooked, and it wasn't in the Oldsmobile, but
So the first time that you ran the Oldsmobile, what did it run in the 8th mile?
probably 720s was probably about where it was.
Okay,
was
and what did you run the first time you drove it?
Oh, I don't remember. I was probably only a half pass.
I would say, yeah. I know the first time that I tried driving the
I
Corvette.
can't remember what happened yesterday. You're asking me a long time ago.
I know the first time I drove the Corvette. So at the time, it would have probably run 6:30 in the 8th mile, maybe 6:20, something like that.
Right.
All I remember is that the first number of the ET started with an 8. I went 8 something, on and off the throttle, basically
Yeah.
terrified. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Now, second pass, I remember second pass because the second pass was a full blown pass. I went right through and went 6:20 something. But it was that, letting go of the button and having the car pull the wheels in the air, all the rest of it. And it's like, once I got past that and the car wanted to go straight, it was like, all right, I know I'm supposed to lift because I'm on a license run. But I'm like,
It's too much fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and I don't see the need at this point. But it was that first pass. I was terrified, and just it went. Was having flashbacks to when I was 7 years old, holding on to the roll bar for dear life.
My first pass in the altered, it felt like Star Wars with that, because it's totally different.
I've never driven an open car
than driving, a door car.
Yeah.
It was, and I mean, at that time we were going 620s, I think it was.
Probably, yeah.
And it was like that, and it was over with, and it was like, holy cow, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
But it's
come back and ask. I remember my dad doing that with me too. It was like coming back and asking, okay, so what happened here, and what happened. It's like, I don't know. It was like I was just holding on for dear life, right? It's like couldn't tell you what the oil pressure was, where I should. Couldn't tell you anything.
But it's like anything. Once you get used to it, you got time to look around, and
it really is incredible. I mean,
how it slows down.
It really is. It's really weird. I'm sure there's some scientific reason for it. I don't know what it is, but it really is amazing.
It is.
You can go back and in a 6-second pass, all the things that you can remember and replay.
I should have done this. I should have done that.
Right.
Or even leaving the line, what you know you should have done. Hit the bump up, bump down, whatever.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it definitely
really
does.
is.
It's like it's in slow motion, and I don't know why that is, but yeah, that comes in. The bad thing is that as you get more and more passes, you get more and more comfortable. And then you potentially think, all right, yes, you know what? In this particular case, I'm going to hit the brakes as hard as I possibly can. What's the worst that could happen? You just don't think about it at that point in time. I may have said this before on the show. So one of the things that I do is I sell into industrial automation, and I sell safety components. And when people get hurt, the people that get hurt on the job are not the new guys that are working a piece of machinery because they respect this new piece of machinery that they've never used before, and it looks dangerous to them. It's the guys that have been doing it for years and years that it's like, oh, yeah, you can just do this and you don't have to pay attention. And it's like those are the guys that end up getting hurt. I would say I could raise my hand with the snowblower incident from a couple of years ago.
Wow.
I can reach inside and...
They usually come with a stick, don't they?
He still got all his fingers, so it didn't end that bad.
It wasn't good.
I still
walked around with an oven mitt on his hand.
I can't feel the end of my middle finger on my right hand. But yeah, when I went to the emergency room, the nurse was like, "This was a snow blower accident." I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Usually you're missing part of your finger. You must have been really lucky." And
it's fast.
Exactly it.
Drag racer reaction.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. But yeah, that was my snowblower. Unfortunately, at the time, was an older model that didn't have the stick, and somebody was feeling lazy. That's like, I don't have to shut it off. I've done this 100 times. Stuck my hand in there. And that time, I stuck it in just a little too far. But yeah, and the same can happen with a race car. Obviously, you get comfortable in it, and then you start doing dumb things. But hopefully, none of us will ever have to experience any of that ever again. So I know I told you beforehand. I don't know how. I mean, you guys have a 2-hour drive home, but I know I told you beforehand. I mean, I'm looking at the clock here. The hour would fly by. I don't know if you're like, oh my God, it's been dragging. But I mean, here we are. It's 8:08. We've already been on the air for an hour.
Right.
So I don't know if you knew this or not, but you guys can thank Sean Beatty for being on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, he was.
Sean, if you're listening.
Which he
usually is, but I haven't seen him.
I'm surprised he didn't call up here. And
I'm sure we got messages on our phones.
Oh, yeah, we left our phone out there just in case.
Right. So other than thanking Sean to basically hounding me to, hey, did you get the Clevelands on the show yet? I'm like, no, I haven't, but I will. And I really appreciate you guys making the drive out from Buffalo to come out here, and glad you had a nice dinner out at Parker's.
Yeah, it's great place for dinner there.
But otherwise, I mean, other than your wives, which I know you have to thank for being supportive, who else do you have to thank? Sponsors, people that help.
That guy right over there. I got to thank him.
He's been pretty supportive over the years,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, I've wrecked a lot this year so far. Broken a lot of parts this
broken
year
a lot of
so
parts
far,
in one of
so-
those years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
But-
that happens unfortunately, but I mean can't be too bad because well, I guess you must be making the most of your opportunities at the track if you're still
Yeah.
third in points with the amount of parts breakage that you've had.
Well, I broke him in his car, in the car that he drives out at Empire. I think that happened twice.
Yeah, I drive the Roadster at Empire, and he drives the Olds out there, and I drive the Olds at Lancaster, and he drives. So
So when
Well,
we
that's kind of interesting.
when we took it out to Empire, it was my turn to drive the Olds, and then I think it happened twice. I broke the rear end once, and then I think the transmission again. Or maybe that wasn't an Empire, but anyways, he missed a couple weeks because I broke his car.
I would say at this point you're used to it.
yeah, well, it happens.
Stuff breaks, unfortunately.
Oh, we broke the rear end, and and when the rear end broke, it took the tranny out.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, I broke the case on the transmission.
Oh,
Yeah, so
did you know right away?
Not until
Of course
after
not.
we put the rear end back
Right.
in.
Yeah.
no, we were just about ready to put it back in and go. We better check that transmission, And
Sure enough,
there's a crack all the way
right
around the
across.
housing.
So how
we
did you
took care of that?
How did you come up with that idea to swap cars like that? Is it just because you both enjoy driving both cars, or?
I don't enjoy driving the Oldsmobile.
I knew that was coming. No, I get to drive. Normally at Lancaster, I always drive the Oldsmobile unless he's not there.
Yeah.
But and then every once in a while, when we go to Empire or a different track, I'll get the opportunity to drive. The altered.
Yeah.
But I'm driving it every week now, so now he gets that opportunity elsewhere. So, and I'm not gonna sit at home and
Do
not
nothing?
race
Yeah.
because he's driving that
Sure.
car. I'll take the other one out there and race.
Yeah.
Don't matter. It's it's just I love doing it. It's just a great time. I mean, we're all driving. It's the rush. It's everything.
Here I was, like I said, a few weeks ago, racing the street car out at Empire. I've raced a street car. I've raced my Corvette. I've raced Phil's car. I've raced snowmobiles. I've never raced a motorcycle.
No.
I
don't
guess I
think
never
ever
felt
catch me on
comfortable
one of them
enough on a bike to do that. But otherwise, I'd race anything. I don't care. Like I said, it's funny too because it's not about how fast you're going.
Right.
It really is about the competition.
Yeah.
No, we'd still be racing if something happened to both the cars. We'd still be out there with something.
Yeah.
I got a pickup truck.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So I mean,
Street out there's been we've been getting 30, 35 cars in the street the last couple
Really?
weeks.
Probably.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah.
Wow. All-wheel drive.
Yeah,
Wow.
last couple of weeks we've had like 170 cars a week out there.
wow, that's a
So
lot.
They paid, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago? They paid $900 to win in street.
Holy cow!
Yeah, there was some extra bonuses going on,
Yeah.
but so
That's unbelievable.
no, they're trying really hard out there, and and it's just too bad about the COVID deal,
Right.
or we could have a great year going on, but we're still slugging it out, and
I actually wonder. 170 cars.
we barely got done. Well, that's why the transmissions were overheating there at the end. Ours were anyhow. We made 3 passes in 35 minutes,
Whoa.
and the last one was like at 3 minutes to 12, and we can't at 12 o'clock things
That's
shut
it.
off.
Oh, so okay. So Lancaster for the longest time had the 11 o'clock curfew.
12 o'clock.
So it got extended to 12, but at 12 o'clock.
Done.
Okay.
If you're not done, and they've given us the option here to if you're down to 2 cars and you don't have enough time to finish, you can we'll let you race next week.
Mhm.
We'll let you do the final next Friday.
Yeah.
They've given us that option too.
Yeah.
So that's something we should all be aware of, and
Yeah, I
that's
didn't
a
know
it.
great,
Yeah, if
that's
it
a great
happens.
thing. If you get pushed to that end,
If
you
it
don't
so
have
happens.
time.
Yeah, because
Hold off.
At the end of the day, I don't know how you would do it, but if it were me, if I was going to do a runoff like that, I would say, all right, we're going to come out for our first time run,
Yeah.
and second time run will be the runoff, right?
I
So-
believe that's the way they work it. Yeah.
So it doesn't-
everybody wants to finish the race
Right.
that night because you get rolling, you feel I'm hot, nobody's stopping me tonight.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to think of we made a lot of passes in a very short period of time, and we weren't the only one. You know, there was the other competition was doing it too.
So happened it affected us, and you know, they
Yeah.
their equipment was a little better than ours. That's all at that time.
Right. Well, geez, I hope. I'm hoping that we can finish tomorrow night. I mean,
Yeah, we should be able to.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm looking forward to going to Lancaster tomorrow. Now, I will say that I will. I'll put a good word in for you guys. Racing with the Western New York Super Rod Association, because I personally don't care if you were to come race with us. Now,
Yeah.
as far as the
Well,
rules
we'll
are
be in
written,
it in 2 minutes if you'll let us.
I say
Yeah.
I say as far as the rules are written right now, I don't know that I could do it, but yeah, I mean, and I will say 570, you guys wouldn't be the fastest car
Oh, no.
in the class.
No, that's fine.
I
don't even.
But I mean, to me, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, you're running on an index,
Right,
and
right.
we all have the same tree, whether it's
Yeah.
a dragster or a
It's
roadster.
not a long car.
Even
Right.
if it was, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're all on the same index.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll do a quick informal poll and see. Hey guys, would you like to have one more competitor come join us?
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have the extra car. To me
Yeah.
personally, I mean, if I could get a couple more cars come race with us, I'd much rather do that than say no because your car is blue or it's a roadster that you can't run with us. That just seems silly to me.
Right.
What do you think, Mr. Talkative?
I don't know. I don't know. It's been busy. There's been a lot going on over here.
Well, I've been.
Sean is watching. Sean, did you catch he changed his name on Facebook?
Wayward Sean.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been like that for a little bit now.
I didn't notice that he changed it.
Yes.
Sure enough, he was tuned in. So that was
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I knew if he wasn't tuned in for whatever reason that he would watch afterwards, because he always does. He always shares the show posters and generally always watches it at some point. So, yeah, longtime viewer, and I still want to. Maybe one of these times, maybe this is what it takes. I've been trying to bug Sean to come on the show as well.
Well, I mean,
maybe if
come
you
on now.
guys could come on again, you could be
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
"Come on, Sean, let's take a ride." And
Yeah, we could do it.
well, the president of the Cleveland fan club now has to come on because his clients have already been here.
right,
He doesn't have a choice.
that's right. All right. Well, before we wrap it up, anything else that we didn't touch on that you'd like to touch on? But again, anybody you'd like to thank, sponsors, anything like that?
No, we really don't have any sponsors, just us. We fit it all ourselves, and I just like to thank the track. Vito, Gary, Mick Swinarski.
Yep.
Those guys. Without them, we wouldn't have a place to race.
I would say it was looking pretty bad a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So
And the whole crew out there,
they really
the
pulled
whole
that
crew.
place.
They all do a great job. I mean, Glenn's looking out for everybody on the starting line every week, and Sharon's cracking the whip. So
I say Gary Westfall is
Gary's Gary. Yep.
Gary's doing everything.
still
Yeah.
teching cars.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I say. I don't know how long Gary's going to do it, but I think he'll do it as long as he's physically able to get out
yeah.
to the track.
Yeah. No.
But
All right. Well, I guess that covers it.
I think so.
That's good because we got to be out of this room in 12 minutes.
All right.
Well, thank you for having us on.
Yeah,
It's been an
absolutely.
awesome experience.
Hey, you're
Yeah.
welcome. You're welcome to come on anytime you like. You guys want to make the ride out and
Yeah, that was a nice ride.
yeah.
Keep us posted as things go. Good
Yeah,
luck the rest of the
absolutely.
way. Let
Thank
us
you.
know how things are going. By all means, and the door's open. Number 79 in the books. Wayne was asking how long we've been doing this, and I think it's going on 3 years, right? It's got to be coming up soon on 3.
Yeah, I mean it has to be.
I think maybe it was. I thought it was September, but it
Seems
might
like
be November.
forever.
Yeah, it does feel like forever. That's for sure. I'll agree with you there. Nonetheless, we are going to be back again in a week. 2 weeks. 2 weeks to come back around, and we'll do some more racing conversation then. We look forward to it. In the meantime, be well, and we'll see you soon. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.